Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Media Network for magazines, TV, and radio network. We're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm glad you're here with us today. And it's been a really great week this last week. Great weather out here in sunny Arizona. I mean, a little bit of rain on and off, a little bit of wind. But, after we've survived, those summertime temperatures of over 100, 110 degrees, it's nice to get a few 70-degree days, and we've strung a few along. I mean, I'm actually getting up in the morning, and it's like, my gosh, like 60 degrees. And to us, I mean, that is like, I got to find a parka, to be out there in that type of weather. But, I do want to go over a few housekeeping items as I do, to begin each show. We have some great things that are going on. And, one of the greatest things that we have is we have the next book, the second book of the Art of Connection series. It's called 365 Days of Inspirational Quotes. And you can go to 365daysofinspirationalquotes.com to find out more about what we're doing in the second book. The first book came out because, there was a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, and influencers, founders, etc. And they were kind of worried. They were frustrated, with COVID. And, I decided to put a book together to help provide inspiration, support, and hope to other entrepreneurs by having some of the people from Network Together, iNetrepreneur Network, put their quotes and thoughts and even questions, for the readers. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, we couldn't contain it like to a month's worth of authors. We ended up having to have a whole year's worth of authors. And so it ended up being in the Library of Congress, and it turned out to be an international bestseller. But if you go to the website and use the code OCT15, you can get a reserved page in the book for not $550, but $250. And our guest today is in the book as well. And so I'm excited to have him on the show. But I want to remind everyone also that you can go to ntevents.net. That's ntevents.net. Sign up there for our in-person chapters, and you can sign up and for our virtual meetings and also see some of our other radio shows and happenings going on in the iNetrepreneur community. Like us on Facebook. We have a long URL there. It's facebook.com/iNetrepreneur Radio. But you can also still go to the old networktogether.net website, much easier to spell, networktogether.net. Just click on the Facebook icon, and that will get you to our Facebook page where the iNetrepreneur Radio is. And, lastly, also, go to our YouTube channel and just type in again, iNetrepreneur Radio, and you can subscribe. And so to send you out an alert every time we have someone coming on to the show. But again, I just want to remind everyone that, our book should be coming out about mid-December. And if you're interested in being in the book, you can submit your content up to November 15th. But I say reserve your page a lot earlier because, believe it or not, the days of the year start running out as all of our affiliates and, Sean and I are marketing this book. So again, it's 365 Days of Inspirational Quotes. It's the second book in the series of the Art of Connection. And it also goes along with Art of Connection 365, where we also have masterminds and summits and, other opportunities for people to network with each other. So, today I have a dear friend who's coming on to the show. He's also a gentleman who he's the lead instructor of our real estate academy for the iNetrepreneur Network. And that is my good friend and partner and everything else, keg man, Mr. Stuart Gethner. Hey, Stuart, how are you doing?
Hey, Robert, thanks for having me. It's always great to be with you.
I'm glad that you're here. Sometimes I just think to myself, sometimes when you go through a little bit of tragedy, right? Tragedy sometimes it kind of amps up strategy. I don't know if you've ever heard that. And one of the things that I looked differently in the strategy of what I was doing in my business was, you know, I can't look at myself anymore as relying on myself in the ways I did before. It really takes a team, it really takes delegation, and it really takes trust. And that's some of the things that it's been hard for me to let go of a
Yeah,
lot of what I do. But
yeah,
if it was a year ago, Stuart, without the team that I had in place, there would be no company, because at the same time, my wife was taking care of her mom in Las Vegas for a month. And so between the two of us, that's like 2.5 months of entrepreneurial time that was lost. And that can be, quite a struggle. And it really can. And it kind of is like what I want to go for in the first segment is, you've been on the show a couple of times, and you and I, we really sometimes have these off kind of, out of the light conversations on the phone. And sometimes I bring it up and sometimes you bring it up. But, you know, my question is this, and I really want to get here. Is there a difference between, real estate professionals and entrepreneurs who are into real estate?
hmm,
Because I think that there is a big difference, but being that had both hats, you've worn them both, and
hmm.
you've worked with both sets, both camps, I was wondering what your thoughts were on the differences between the two.
Gosh, honestly, that's a great question. And so when I hear the word real estate professional, the first thing that kind of pops in my mind is like a realtor or an agent who is a professional. I am not a realtor. I'm not an agent. My lovely bright Stephanie is. And when I think about a real estate entrepreneur, I think about myself, like the real estate investor, someone who is out there looking for property for themselves, as opposed to a realtor who is helping somebody purchase or sell a piece of property. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. What do you think?
Well, it reminds me of my world, because when in my environment, you kind of have two camps as well. You could say, hey, I'm a programmer. And the thing is, yeah, am I a programmer who's a freelancer where, I do my job and I move on? Or am I a programmer who's an entrepreneur where I do my job, but I also understand it's like that Jim Rome thing. I'm actually the marketer of my programming services.
Right.
And I do think that there's a big difference between the two, because I feel like the freelancer looks to find their next meal, and then the entrepreneur looks to build their next farm that will
Right.
provide the meals. But
Right.
like I said, I may be wrong on that, but I see that sometimes in the real estate profession is you have a certification, but sometimes they do a job, but they're not actually building a brand or a business.
That's funny that you say that because when I speak to realtors when they come on board for our consulting program to help them scale their business, the question always begs, are people hiring you as their realtor, or are they hiring Berkshire Hathaway, Keller Williams, HomeSmart, Coldwell Banker? And if you left your broker and you went somewhere else, would they follow you, or are they loyal to your broker? So you raise a very good point from a branding and marketing perspective, that we want to make sure that people are following the person and that they're branding themselves as opposed to branding the company, that the broker that they're with.
And when you brand yourself, and see, sometimes I really have to work with people on this, because the same thing. I used to work for a lens called Private Ledger, and the team would go out and recruit other brokers. And usually at that point in time, when I was working there in 2000 through 2002, um, they usually had to have at least a monthly portfolio of incoming revenue generation of about $2 million a month. And I remember, they didn't want anyone who was practicing, financial. They wanted people that came in, they were self-branded, they had a great book, and they also had a team. They weren't looking for the independent person who was, struggling going door to door to what, to look for financial. They wanted them to already have been through that. They already went
Sure.
through the minor leagues to get to the big leagues. But,
Sure.
you know, it's the same way with realtor.com. When I was working there, I used to always tell the realtors, you need to remember, do you own your data, or does the data own you? because if the data owns you, you can't take it with you. And you have to be really good about how, when you leave, does your book leave with you? And I think that that's something, when you're an entrepreneur, you're always thinking about your book. You're always thinking about your audience. You're always
Absolutely.
thinking about, the next steps. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm always thinking about my community. So when you come on board, or when you come to one of our classes that we do every Tuesday, and I mean every Tuesday, and I get and you sign up, and I'm able to access your email address, and I put you in our customer relationship, our CRM, or customer relationship management program. I'm very conscientious as to making sure that whatever email we send out, or whatever it is, that program that we're going to put on, is directed towards you. It is going to provide value. So I'm really, and I can say this about you too, Robert, and Sean as well. I'm really not here to sell you anything, right? I'm not in sales. I'm in providing a service. And if you want a service, or you're looking for the service that I provide, or that the Network Together provides, or the Entrepreneur Academy provides, we're here to provide that service. And if you're not interested, that's okay. That you may not be interested in real estate investing. You may be interested in collecting coins, or stamp collecting, or precious metals, or whatever it is that you're interested in. So yeah, we're not really here in sales. When we take a look at what services we're trying to provide to our community, we're always looking to provide what I call value add.
And a lot of the value add that we actually do that we don't really talk about much is within the community. Support is part of the basis of the development of mindset that we actually have in that community. Talk about some of the ways, when you speak as a lead instructor in the academy,
Mhm.
many of the things you talk about is like, hey guys, it's not just doing the functions of being what you want to be, whether it be an investor or an inspector, or a realtor, or you're just kicking the can across the road. I mean, a lot of what you do is like, preparing people from the mental mindset of what it is to be in real estate, isn't it?
Everything's mindset. So everything, in my opinion, is going to be mindset and attitude. And so what you can, if you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're right. And so our goal, when you come on board to look at an opportunity for real estate investing, is what are your expectations? Are they realistic? And how can we get you from A to B in as fast as we can, in small bite-sized steps, while we're taking all the risks and challenges out of it. So, we're not really reinventing the wheel. Real estate investing has been around for a very long time. You look at the Forbes top 400, most of them have made their millions, or in these days billions, in real estate investing. And so I always joke, even if you go back to Fred Flintstone, which I used to watch when I was a kid, housing is still needed. Real estate investing was still around. What has changed is the color of the countertops, the color of the appliances,
Hmm.
what cabinets are in style. So those things change, but the concepts have always stayed the same.
Well, and the concepts are still I can go back to 1937 when Dale Carnegie said, it's 15% of it is, what you do, but the other 85% is how you are with people. And I think so much of the time, especially in our environment now, we rely on the technology so much to furnish our leads, but just having a bunch of leads doesn't mean that we're going to actually gain a lot of business. And I think it goes back to mindset and having an appetite and a passion for what you do. That's where you get really rewarded with clients, isn't it?
It is. And those that lived through the 08, 09 bust of real estate have a sincere fear of going back into that market, especially some of the millennials who saw their parents lose their house that they grew up in, or stress over losing their house, or the foreclosure process, or the short sales process. So a lot of it is just really, most of what we teach is, like, just like you said, is the education piece. And I always tell this story, which I think is true. I don't know when the last time you rode a bike, Robert, but if you haven't ridden a bike in years, a two-wheeler, and you came down to my office today, and we went out to the parking lot, and I said, "Hey, hop on this bike." You might hop on, and you might wiggle a little bit, but in about 5 or 10 minutes, I bet you're cruising up and down the parking lot, feeling very comfortable on the bike. And the point being is, once you learn a skill, once you have the knowledge on how to do something, the knowledge never goes away. You may need an update, like I said, on the color of the countertops or the types of countertops or the flooring or what have you. But conceptually, so we want to make sure that we instill not just the right attitude, but with those fears of uncertainty, they get busted with education and knowledge. And so what we do at Gethner Education and Consulting is we make sure we just don't give you books and tapes to look at or give you a roadmap and say, here's how you do it. We actually hold your hand. So my phone will probably ring a couple times. I put it on silent for my clients who, who need help today. Maybe they made an offer or they're looking to make an offer or they have a question and they can't wait till next Thursday when their appointment is. They need the answer today. So being accessible, providing quality education and current market conditions really help alleviate some of the fears for most people so they can kind of stick their toe in the water and feel comfortable and then be able to jump all the way in.
Well, and I think that, many times, especially, and I mean, we haven't talked about this, but I think this is a good place to also talk, to overcome mindset. I like to talk about the heart set part of it. You know, People who have lived through this, real estate, whether or not they attach a certain amount of emotion to it as well. And I think sometimes we have to kind of overcome the emotion of it all before we can actually get that bike going again, don't we?
It's fun. It's funny that you said that. And that's because I look at deals all day long. I work with numbers all day long. And to me, there's no emotion in it. But when I bring on a client or an entrepreneur, solopreneur who's looking for multiple streams of income, looking for cash flow, to them, this is the first time they're looking at it, or the second time, or the third time. For me, I do it 4 or 5 times a day. I've been doing it for years. So for those people that are just kind of getting started or are starting to look at it, it is a bit overwhelming. And so we want to try to take the emotion out of it and understand that it's about the numbers. So if you bought something, that's 20, 30% below market value in real estate, should the price go down 5%, go down 10%, go down 15%, you're still protected because, and I say this when I give my presentations on business, in any business, especially if you're not just supplying a service but a product, you make your money when you buy. So
Yeah.
I used to own pharmacy, so we would have aspirin for sale in our pharmacy, and if my aspirin was higher priced than Walmart's or Walgreens, people aren't going to buy much aspirin. I might sell a bottle or two for someone in need, but if you want to sell the volume, you have to be priced right. And the only way to be priced right is to buy right.
And definitely, and buying right is everything. And let's really speak to what buying right means, because when we think about real estate and then we think about financial, and you and I have talked about this before, and you brought up gold or coinage or whatever. I mean, there's a big difference between owning the paper of it and actually owning the physical, tangible item of it. And
Mhm.
like I said, when I buy anything, I'm not looking to buy the paper of it. I'm actually looking to buy it. And so many times in hey, I have a financial planner and I have a tax strategist and I have an accountant and I have all these people.
Mhm.
But one of the things to understand is my access to what I have done in those areas is not immediate. Sometimes
Sure.
some of this stuff they don't want you to touch until I'm 59 and a half years old. And someone who's
Right.
35, it's like, what am I doing here?
Sure.
And I don't get to see it. I can't drive to it, right?
Right.
But when it comes to real estate, you know what? I can buy, I can sell, I can rent, right? I can
Sure.
hold, I can fix and flip. You know what? In a way, what people don't sometimes understand is, like, you have ownership of it and
Sure.
you can control it without any encumbrance, can't you?
Right. So it's what we call a tangible or a fixed asset. The answer is
Yep.
correct. So nothing's perfect. So the downside to that is, so to, we look at both sides of the equation. The
Yeah.
downside is that it's not a liquid investment. So if you needed cash because you need to pay for your kids' college tuition or your teenager's braces, that it's not something you can just go liquidate like you would a stock or something of that nature. But it is a tangible asset Because when you buy a stock, you're at the whim or wishes of whoever the president of that corporation is, regardless of the stock. And many times, and I invest in stock. I have a diversified portfolio, as do you. But many times in stocks, those decision makers are making decisions that might be in their best interest as opposed to my
Yeah.
best interest. And we can't control that. But when you do, like you said, when you own real estate, you own a building, whether it's a single family rental property or it's a medical building or it's an apartment, whatever it is, right, you own it, you can drive by it, there's pride of ownership. And what I love most about it, Robert, is that there's cash flow. At the end of every month,
Yeah.
there's money left over, which produces what they call
Yes.
multiple streams of income. And so that's just another additional income stream that God bless you, that I'm going to get the rent checks
Thank
in
you.
on the first of the month, regardless of whether I'm here or whether I'm on the moon. Those rent checks continue to come in.
And and really, Stuart, that's really what I'm driving at. See, because as a real estate person who's also an entrepreneur, I'm not looking for, a one trick pony. I'm not just looking for one home. The thing is once you get five homes, or let's say a diversified portfolio of 10 assets, or even 12 assets, all of a sudden, the further that you go out there and the further you diversify within that real estate, you do start becoming liquid. You know, and
Well,
and,
there's no
and
good.
that's yeah, because you can unload some of the properties, or you can unload some land, and like I said, in certain ways, you can develop the cash flow. You can restore and sell that house. You can, terminate a lease, and there's so many things that you can actually do, and
Right?
that you can't really do in any other investment. But I think the most important thing that you said, and I can't even believe we've we blew past the first segment, but I think the most important thing that we can do when it comes to that, Stuart, is we can steer our own ship.
I love that, and you're right. As you attain and acquire more and more property, and I'll give you just this as an example. We have an eightplex that we own, and there's a mortgage on it. Our mortgage payment on that is about $3,500 a month. They're all two bedroom, two baths. They each rent for $1,350 a month. So 2 to 3 of those cover my mortgage and expenses and such. So I have the remaining five as positive cash flow. And when we
Yeah.
work with investors, we're happy to split those dollars with them, along with the depreciation and interest deductions. And so you're right. It may not be a liquid investment, but there's certainly things you can do with it to create liquidity.
Well, everyone, I am here with Stuart Gethner. He is the CEO. That's right, the CEO of Gethner Education, Consulting, and Coaching. And he is my guest today. You can find him at stuartgethner.com. That's stuartgethner.com. Also, you can go to ntevents.net. That's ntevents.net. He's our lead instructor. And at least twice a month, he's given us a lot of morsels us investors love to chew on to help us level up our real estate portfolio and our game plans, our strategy, and our planning. Stuart, we're going to take a little bit break, and then we're going to come back into the next section. And let's talk a little bit about the marketplace today. What is going on out there in this crazy world? I mean, some people say there's things that you can buy, and there's other people that there's no more way to make money out there.
Sure.
What are the facts and what is the fiction? So let's talk about that when we come back on the next segment.
Sounds good.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
All right, I am here with Stuart Gethner. He is the CEO of Gethner Education, Coaching, and Consulting. And what I want to talk about, Stuart, is let's talk about some things that are like right here and right now. I mean, mindset. We all want to have a great mindset, but sometimes even with the mindset, we can't control the marketplace. And right now, Arizona is going through some unprecedented changes when it comes to both our residential and our commercial marketplaces. Let's talk about, because the question I get all the time is, where's the money to be made at?
Okay, so you're exactly right, and not just in Arizona, but really across the country, there are pockets of appreciation in real estate that are kind of what I would call unsustainable. But if you take a look at the weather outside here today, we live where people vacation. So when people come here to vacation, I have a couple of vacation rentals. This past weekend, I had guests in from Northern California. They were here to see the football game, and then we'll play another team, and I'll have guests come in to see their favorite football team, and they see what property values are here, and they see how much property taxes and the cost of living, whether they're coming from Denver or Northern California, Southern California, the Seattle area, Chicago area. They're amazed at what they can purchase, what their bang for their dollar is. And so as long as we continue to have those people moving here, and that'll happen probably as long as we have lovely weather, we're going to see some escalation in prices. But you're right, Robert. We've seen an unsustainable amount of growth in appreciation, not just in the like you mentioned, for purchasing residential and commercial, but also for rentals. So a lot of the people who rent are being priced out of some of the markets, and so there's a shortage of what they call affordable housing or attainable housing, and that's a challenge. So with that said, the question is, where do I make money? Where's the deals? And I'm here to tell you that there's always deals. So someone just found out today that that a loved one got sick back in New York or in Florida, and one of their elderly parents, and they want to sell their property and they want to go be with someone that they need to help care for. So that just happened today. Tomorrow there's going to be someone that figures out they're going to be getting divorced and they just want to be done with the albatross around their neck and move on with their lives. The people that we tend to buy from when we buy apartments, 4 units, 8 units, 12, 20 units, whatever that number is, we're in that kind of that small pocket where insurance companies, they're buying 100 units, 1,000 units. But those that are actually buying and owning 20, 30, 40 units, they tend to be, believe it or not, individuals. And so we'll find an elderly gentleman or woman who's been owning those properties for 20, 30, 40 years, whatever that is. And then as time has gone on, they've decided to themselves, they've had enough and they're done with it. And so they'll
Yeah.
become a motivated seller, and they're not interested in getting top dollar. They haven't raised rents for a while, and they probably have some deferred maintenance. And so that's our ideal seller because, like I said in the last segment, we're going to buy that property at a discount. If something is all fixed up, looking shiny and new, and they just completely remodeled all the units, that's not for me. I want to buy something that is under market rate where I can create value, bring that to the marketplace. I can then over time increase rents and increase our bottom line, which is cash flow. So I'll leave you with this. There's always deals. Maybe sometimes are harder to find deals than others, but there's still always deals.
Well, and I want to make this really clear to a lot of people who are listening. You know, you know, you, many times you talk about when Sean and I throw an event and we get hundreds of people to attend, and you say, guys, I don't know how you do it. You make this look so darn easy. And I've always wanted to say, well, it may look easy, but that doesn't mean it is easy. It's just that we know what to do. And you know, if you don't know, if you don't have the right training, you don't have the right team, it start with seeds, don't start with trees. Start with the littlest things you can, because if you don't know what you're doing, real estate can actually be probably the hardest thing also that you could ever do, because as many things that can go right with real estate from an investment standpoint, there's that many things that can go wrong. And I say many times, Stuart, and I say this a lot because I've been on that side of the fence, on the wrong side, because I didn't have the right team. I didn't have the right professionals. I didn't have the right experience. And I went out there and I overextended myself in my life. And yeah, here I'm speaking to a little bit of my fear, but the thing is if you don't have those other elements in place, we in this industry do see a lot of turnover, because initially to start, it is hard. And a lot of people, they come in and they drop out. And it really goes back to who do you know? Who do you trust, and who can you sustain with? And I think that that's the development of a good team, but also in this marketplace, I mean, Stuart, we also have other factors that are going on. I mean, the supplies to build new units, People are having, expensive lumber, and then items that come in, from overseas are kind of getting slowed down. We're going into, the holiday season. I mean, there's a lot of other factors that are acting on our market. We've also talked about, what do vacation rentals look like? What do B&Bs look like? What about modifying homes and saying, here is a home, but it has a large land plot, and let's add to it, and let's make it a multi-generational home. I mean, there's still a lot of things to do as an investor to improve the Phoenix area, isn't there?
Right. And so I love what you were talking about when you talked about some of those people that had fears. And I apologize that you had some fears as well and had some experiences as well. And here's my thought on that. And and you started the first segment with it, and that is you think you want to go at it alone. You think you want to be self-sufficient, entrepreneurial, solopreneur. And the fact of the matter is, if you're gonna whether it's start or scale, it's okay to have others help you. And so for the longest time, I was doing my own books. And I could do my own books. I had a handful of properties. And the way I did my books was at the end of the year, I'd sit in front of a TV in January and February, download all of last year's statements. And in front of the television, I'd go through January after every transaction, February, every transaction. And it dawned on me that I could do this, but should I be doing this? And who can I lean on to take this task away from me? So what I've learned I've you can see the gray hair and the crinkles in the side of my eyes. I think they call that wisdom and experience. What I've learned is if I had a coach or a consultant or a mentor that can help shorten that timeline of where I want to be as to from where I am, it's worth that investment. So I'm not really investing in the coach or the mentor when I pay them to help me. I'm investing in myself. And the
Yeah.
goal is to keep me out of harm's way, to keep me from getting hit by the bus that I don't see coming. And so I think that to people that do have those fears, if they found someone to kind of hold their hand, work shoulder by shoulder to get them past some of those concerns, then that's going to be their ability to kind of exponentially leap and be able to acquire whatever it is they're trying to acquire, whether it's real estate or a business, whatever that is. Having someone that's done it already that can show you the mistakes that they made. Because trust me, and I know you can appreciate this, you're going to make plenty of mistakes on your own. You just don't need to make the mistakes that someone else made if they can show you how to stay out of harm's way.
Yeah, and so much, other things have changed too. I mean, we also talked just a tad bit about, and we certainly do it in our meetings, and that's technology. I mean, I call it shortening the rope. I mean, technology has created a real estate marketplace which seemed infinitely far, from each other, to where we're actually able to gather the data and create information out to where we shorten the rope to this now. And
Sure.
what I always say, work local and start to learn your marketplace. Be a part of a national, real estate group, and start creating partnerships all around the country, because just like Arizona marketplace goes up and down, so do the other places. And there, maybe you can't get the level of, let's say, recurring rental monies here in Arizona, but maybe in Ohio, it's just like, boy, that will sustain your real estate. Or maybe there's something going on in Florida, or maybe there's some commercial things going on. I mean,
Sure.
technology is really, amplified, our ability as a real estate investor to vision, hasn't it?
It has. And so I would always tell people to start with the area that they know. So if I brought you to Dayton, Ohio and said, Robert, this is a great investment. You should buy it. It's the cap rate, the cash on cash return, the ROI is astronomical. You might trust me and you might think, well, this guy won't steer me wrong, but you don't know it. And so
Mhm.
when you find something that you know, and if I brought you to your neighborhood and said, Robert, here's a property, and you're like, well, yeah, I know that property. It's in my neighborhood, or I drive past that, or I'm familiar with it. It makes the investing so much easier from a comfort level. So I would always tell people to start with what you know. And if you don't know, just like you said, there are so many resources on the internet today that they could get more information than they ever thought of just by going to www whatever they want or YouTube University and educate themselves.
Yeah, we had a guest, and you're speaking of education, and I really thought it was pretty amazing. Art Scott, he came on, and he's
Yeah.
the #7 commercial builder in the state of Arizona.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed. Great developer, and he was in our academy. He talked, and I remember that question, Stuart. I asked him. I said, on your real estate team, who's the most important person? And I had everyone guessing first, second, and third, and not one person guessed. And he just sat back and he said, "My accountant."
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And the mouser dropped, and it was like, you know, why is it the accountant? Kind of let people understand why are accountants so important to the real estate investor, in your own words.
So there's probably two that I can think of off the top of my head. One is you want to run your business like a business. And so I had a friend named Jerry, and so let's call him Jerry. And he had a property in Tempe, and he married a gal named Angie, and they decided to get married and keep one of the properties as a rental property. And he was living in Tempe, which is where Arizona State University is, and he rented out the rooms to some kids. And he came back about 6, 8 months later as the semester was winding up, and I guess the place was kind of beat up, and the window was broken, and there was the pool was black, not green but black. And so he called me on the phone and said, "This stuff doesn't work. I don't know why we do it." And I was thinking to myself, Jerry, you don't run your business like a business. And in his
Mm.
mind, whatever his mortgage payment was, whatever the rent was, the rents were more than the mortgage payment. He took the extra proceeds, he stuck them in his pocket, and he said, "I'm a real estate investor." But there's
Right.
more to it than that. There's things like depreciation. There's things like appreciation with cash out refis, 1031 exchanges, interest deductions. And so accountants, that's their job. Their job is to run your business like a business, take the emotion, like we talked about last segment or this segment, out of it and
Mhm.
make it more about the numbers. So that's number one. And the second reason I think they're important is because if you're looking to use OPM, other people's money. So when I do put these deals together, I bring in investors. I know we work together. Others have worked with us. You want complete transparency. And so when I'm not doing the books, but I have an accountant doing the books and provides monthly reports and access, heaven forbid I should get hit by a bus or struck by lightning. There still is someone that knows how the businesses are running, where is the debt service, where's the cash flow going. And so when an investor wants to invest with us, they might say something like, show me another deal that you've worked on. Show me some other financials. And I have a professional accountant, bookkeeper who's able to provide those numbers, and we're transparent. So from a concept of running your business like a business to the concept of bringing in other people's money and scaling your business, I always say his name. My guy's name is Don. Don keeps me out of jail.
You bet. Yeah. One last thing before we end this segment. I know a lot of time on shows, we always ask, what was your worst experience, being a real estate investor? But I'm going to go the opposite direction. What has been your most satisfying? I mean, your most satisfying deal so far as a real estate investor?
So I've really enjoyed my most satisfying deal, my most satisfying opportunity. I have an investor who lives in Illinois. He's invested $1 million with me. He's never been to Arizona, and we bought
Mm.
some fourplex together. We're in the middle of a cash out refi. We bought those apartment complexes for about 300,000 each, and now they're appraising at 580,000 each. And when this cash out refi is done, he will be getting 100% of his money back and then some. And so for me, I'm satisfied knowing that I've fulfilled my obligation not only to myself and my family, but to my investor, who now there's no longer a cash on cash return because he's got all his cash out. It'll be a cash on equity return. So for me, when I see that I'm able to help others create cash flow and wealth, long-term wealth in their lives, to me, that is extremely satisfying.
Yeah, and I brought that up because here's another, I think, mistake that people make when they become investors, or they think about investing in real estate. So we talk about it, that word emotion again. We talk about emotion in such a way, it's like, we tend to forget that we're also dealing with people. When we say don't let emotion be a part of it, it doesn't mean that you still don't have emotion for the people. You know, I
Right.
mean, there's still that emotional side, and many times when I think when people think of it, they think like, well, it's just cold. It's only about the numbers. You don't care. Yada yada yada. But it's not that you don't care. What you want to do is you want to fit the person. I call it fitting the right shoe. You know, it's like, yeah, because the thing is if you do the right deals, then more deals will come with that person and those that they refer, don't they?
Absolutely. And whether you believe in a law of attraction or however you believe, certainly I have found through the years that the more successful I've been, I've attracted more people. So my investor I mentioned in Chicago, he's now told his friends.
Yeah.
And now I get emails and phone calls from his friends that are like, hey, I'd like to invest with you. Hey, I'd like to invest with you. So yes, creating success stories is more than just personally satisfying, but it's also, for me, it's helping other people. And that's why I've done the education piece with Gethner Education and Consulting, because we're here and the Entrepreneur Network, we're and our Wednesday night club. We're here to provide education and knowledge. And what I've learned this from Jim Rohn, as you mentioned earlier. He would say, a third of the people will take the information you provide them and they'll just go off and do it. And then there's a third of the people, they'll take the information and they'll just do nothing with it. It's not for them. They get stuck, whatever that is. And then there's the other third. They're going to try it and they're going to need some more assistance. And that's who we're here to help. Those
Yeah.
that want to try to take it to the next level and just want someone to give them a little bit more guidance to keep them out of harm's way.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. I mean, that is so true because, it also goes back down to the personality types of the individual investor. And some personality types, they just need a little bit more. But once they get it and they're on track, guess what? They're also the best because many times investors like that tend to be the most loyal. So Stuart, I mean, what a great segment. We're going to come back in the
Thank you.
next segment. Again, I'm with Stuart Gethner. He is CEO of Gethner Education, Consulting, and Coaching. And I'm glad you're here today, Stuart. He's also our lead instructor with the iNetrepreneur Real Estate Academy, which meets each week, Tuesdays from 11 to noon. You'll see Stuart there, you'll see me there, and you'll see Amber. She's our newest instructor in the academy. And many times we have guest speakers from all around the country that come to us, anyone from like Rick Sharga to Eileen Galbraith, etc. They bring a lot of tremendous amounts of knowledge to the real estate investor. But in our next segment, everyone, we're going to be talking about, what motivates your students, Stuart, and what are some of the programs that you provide new and emerging real estate investors?
Sounds good.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
All right, again, everyone, I am here with Stuart Gethner. He is the CEO of Gethner Education, Consulting, and Coaching. And what I want to talk about is, things have changed quite a bit. Actually, Stuart, I don't know if you know this, but I went to the Arizona School of Real Estate and Business. And I worked there. I was, my specialty was going to be new home sales. I thought that would be a great place for me to land. And there's this little budding company called Realtor.com that was 10% owned by the National Association of Realtors. And the next thing you knew it, they knew I had a coding and programming background, and all of a sudden, the next thing they knew, they flew me out to San Diego of all places to do some interviews. And the next thing, they gave me a stipend to move out there from Phoenix. But you know what? I must like that hot desert weather because here I am back in Arizona. And, quite frankly, I love it here. I mean, I think that this is a great state. It has a great culture of its own. And, as I say time and time again, we're such rebels here. We have our own time zone, don't we?
Yes, we don't change. So, Robert, when you fill out those forms and there's a drop down and they ask you like what industry you're in, I'd love to have you do one of those where there's a drop down and you get to pick what industry you haven't been in. Because the more and more I learn about you, you really have a very diverse background and you have a lot of knowledge in a lot of different industries.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm not sure my dad would appreciate that as much, but I'm glad you appreciate that.
I appreciate it.
He's like, if you keep doing more stuff, I'm just going to call you Jack because you're not a Robert anymore. So he used to always tease me about that. But
Yeah.
in my later years, the one thing I can always say about that is the more you know of everything, the more you're able to converse with everyone. And I've been very, very happy that my life has led me in so many directions. But
Yeah.
a lot has changed since I was in real estate school. A lot has changed in technology since
Uh-huh.
I was also in real estate school. Now we're looking at I believe a lot of people that are coming into real estate and motivations have really changed over the years.
Mhm.
And sometimes people they want to get into real estate, but they don't understand the costs of the education, of the energy sometimes it takes, and then of the trust, the people that they pick. And that's what I really like about you, Stuart, is you know you're an action taker, but you're also a nurturer at heart. you know and I think many times we don't say that enough. There's enough apples on the apple tree to make pies for everyone. But sometimes things just get in the way, whether it be a mindset or whether it be the wrong people in the life or whether they're learning the wrong programs. But you know what, there's always something right somewhere. And now that I've known you for a few years, you are that right. But
Thank
what
you.
I want to talk about is, what are some of the programs that you offer within Gethner Education? Have they changed over the years? Have
Yeah.
you had to retweak these programs?
Yeah.
Just give us a starting point.
Absolutely. So yes. So the answer to your question is yes. We did tweak our programs during the pandemic because just like now, more things are being done virtually on Zoom than ever before. I like meeting in person and I like hosting our events, but Zoom has kind of really opened up the world and caused a lot of people to pivot in their programs. So one of the things that we offer, and we do this on the third Wednesday of every month, we call it the Wednesday Night Club. And
Hmm.
it's I bring in guest speakers for a couple hours to educate on real estate investing. So usually we go, I'll talk for the first 45 minutes or so. We'll take a break, and then my guest speaker will come on. And so we have that program, and we used to do it in person at the Orange Tree Golf Resort in Scottsdale, but since the pandemic hit, just like this, we had to do things virtually. So we do that, and we serve. Back in the day, we would serve like wine and fruits and vegetables and such and dip, but now it's virtual. So and we're going to start up doing that again. We talked about starting up in person in January, barring any unforeseen circumstances, right? So we do that, and that helps us create what I call, and what we have here is a community of support, a community of like-minded people. When I first started and I got out of pharmacy, I tell the story about how I wanted to get into real estate, and I got the newspaper, the Arizona Republic, and I got all the ads in the back, and I started calling the FSBOs, the for sale by owners. And one of the challenges that I had was people weren't home on a Monday after the Sunday paper. But I got a hold of one investor, and I said to her, I'm just starting out in investing. And she said to me, well, I'm selling this property and it's investment property. And I said, oh, maybe I can take you to lunch one day and you can educate me on real estate investing. And
Yeah.
her comment to me was, why would I want to do that? I'll just have another competitor in the marketplace.
Mm.
So I thought that was more of a scarcity mindset. I come from an abundance mindset, and that's what our Wednesday night club is. So welcome to everybody to attend. And then I do some one-on-one and some community coaching. I have a couple different programs. One where we don't have a tremendously big staff. And so when you come on board as a client, you really work one-on-one with me. And so one of the things I offer everyone is a no cost free 30-minute momentum session. And it's not a sales pitch. We really take a look at where you're at, where you want to be. And when you leave that 30-minute momentum session, you'll leave with a plan. And if you're one of those 1/3 that can take the plan and go do it, God bless you. And I've had people do it. Raul Navarro wanted to be a fix and flipper, came to a 30-minute momentum session, never heard from him again until 3 or 4 years later when I saw him at an event. And he came up and he thanked me and he thanked me and he thanked me. And he's doing multiple fix and flips a month. So that's great. So we have that program where anybody wants to come in. I was happy to sit down virtually or in person. And then we have you get to work with me and my team where you come on board, you onboard as a client. and we do meet, like I said, you get me twice a month. And I have something special that I think about the program. And that is when I had a coach, and I still have coaches, one of my coaches I would meet every Friday. Every Friday I'd trek up to Cave Creek, and she and I would meet for that hour. And some days on Tuesday, I really wanted to talk to her, but I had to wait till Friday. And there were some Fridays that I drove up there, and I really had nothing to talk about. So with my program, you're going to need me on a Tuesday, and we may not be meeting till Friday, but you can call me on a Tuesday. Especially if you're out there in real estate and an opportunity presents itself. If you waited till Friday, that deal may be gone. So what I like about when I have clients on board, and I mean this sincerely, Robert, we don't take all clients. We don't
Yeah.
take. So Jim Rohn would say, I can show you, take you to the gym and show you how to do a push-up, but you got to do the push-up yourself. So everyone thinks I'm a good guy. Everyone thinks I'm so wonderful, but really, you can still think I'm wonderful. But when you come on board as a client, we have to create a success story. If we don't create a success story, no matter how wonderful I am, we didn't create a success story. So I'm happy to say that we're still running at 100% of creating success stories for all the clients that we've come on board.
Well, and I think it goes back to the same mentality of the mindset that we had talked about even early in the first segment of the show. The lady who said that well, why do I want to trade you? You're just going to be another competitor to me. The vision here is not creating competitors, is it? It's actually creating collaborators.
Yeah,
And what better way to share your success with students who come out, because that successful student who comes out of your programs can also turn into, yes, they have their own success, but you can also work with them and they become your successful partner. Isn't that true?
absolutely. And I've helped a gentleman in Willie raise $12.5 million. He wants to build an upscale RV resort in Florence Junction. I don't really know RVs that well, but I guess all the RV stations that we have here in Arizona are built for the smaller, older RVs. But these new RVs need 50 amp service, not 30 amp service. They're taller and they're wider. This was his vision. It was real estate driven. I helped him raise that capital. I helped a guy named Aaron raise the money to buy an apartment complex down in Tucson, Arizona. So the excuse of not having any money is exactly what it is. It's an excuse because there are plenty of clients, people out there in the world that have the capital but don't have the time to invest. And so if you've got a great idea or an opportunity, then our community that we create, we can cooperate and collaborate and create success stories for everyone.
Well, in going back to money, I mean, here is the thing. When we talk about money, I know most of the people out there, they see Chase, they see Wells Fargo, right? You
Sure.
know, they're looking at like Bank of America. They're looking that, you know, there's money in other places, isn't there, Stuart?
Yeah.
I mean,
So those are your traditional lenders, right?
yeah.
And so right, so we want to go and that's where I go. So I know I bank. We put our money. We bank at Chase, but that's not where we go for loans or opportunities. We go to our community. There are I did a fix and flip in Waddell, Arizona. Back in the day, like 2-3 years ago, you'd have to take a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner to get out to Waddell. Now it's booming, and I had an investor help me with the down payment, and I think it was, and he gave me the money for the repairs. I think he put in like 250, 270 or whatever it was. And we bought it for like 300. We ended up selling it in the 700s. It was a very nice home. But he came up to me and he said, I don't mind helping you with your down payment and repairs, but it's kind of a small deal for me. Next time, let me just fund the whole thing. So there are
Yeah.
people out there that can write a check for the
Yeah.
whole thing. And so you just don't know them yet, but they're in our community. So when you come into the Network Together community, the Gethner community Wednesday night club, those people are there. They have the money. They may not have the time. You may have the time. You mentioned Art Scott. I'm a partner of Art Scott's, and we actually have a third person in our partnership. Her name is Tamara, and Tamara's a bookkeeper, and she does the books. And as you mentioned, Art is a general contractor. And so when we own property together, when I'm the property manager, if a tenant calls and says, I have a leaky faucet or something's broken in my house, I don't have to call an electrician or a plumber. I call Art. And Art doesn't say, I'll get there next Thursday. Art gets there right away. Why does Art get there right away? Because it's also his property. And when the books are to be done at the end of the month or the dividend checks are to be cut at the end of the quarter, Tamara's on top of it. Why is she on top of it? Because one of those checks probably goes to her too. So
Mhm.
when we create these partnerships, these strategic alliances or joint ventures, they're a wonderful way to not just start, but really scale and grow your opportunities.
I agree so much, and and here's one thing. I mean, we both know her, Laura Lanemeyer.
Sure.
One of the things that she taught me, and I will never forget it. She says like, you know, people look at these communities, and they think that they may be a part of it or they can't be a part of it. She said, but the fact of it is these communities are really small, and she always recommended make your mark and get with the right person, because once you start making a deal here or there, the people who also make really good deals, they'll find you. And the problem is so many people are like 2 or 3 feet from their own gold, and they stop,
Mhm.
and they don't finish through, and the head trash fills them up with I can't, I won't. The question isn't that. The question is how can I make that next deal? How can I find the right people on my team? How can I, position myself in such a way that I will be seen as a member of these communities? Because really, if you look at all the people that are employed or entrepreneurs in the Phoenix marketplace, there are still very few people that are in the real estate community that are in the community of success. You know, and the ones that start getting it, they start making those deals, don't they, Stuart?
They sure do, Robert. And you're so right. If there's an old expression, I'm sure you've heard it. So seek and ye shall find. Seek and ye shall find. But I add a caveat to that. You got to seek. So if no one knows you're interested, if you're not going out to the Entrepreneur Academy or the Network Together events, if you're not reaching out to Robert, Stewart, or Sean and letting us know what you're interested, how do we know? So you really take the first step, and I think you'd be surprised and almost overwhelmed, and not just over the support, but the love that you get from the whole community. We're all here to support you. It's not what can I sell you, it's how can I help you.
Well, and it's the same with the Art of Connection book. I
Mhm.
mean, one of the things there was a couple of people, because I did some sampling of it. You could say, was it a give back book? Absolutely. $250, $147 to have a page in the book. But see, the thing is that's a community as well. There was a couple of coaches that what they did? They just went through and they said, "Hey, I'm in this community along with you. I've had two people make over $100,000 just by being in that book." And it wasn't because they were selling anything. It was they were just reaching their hand out and saying, "Hey, I'm in this community. I'm in this book. I am sharing hope, inspiration, and support to others." And you know what? Because they have the tie in with it, the conversation came immediately. And it's the same with this real estate community. It comes much faster if you do enough to be seen, to be heard, and to show your energy. And I think that's really what it is in any community, isn't it?
It is. You got to show up, right? Just like if you want to win the lottery, you got to buy a ticket. So if you don't show up, then shame on you, because we're here to support. We're here to help grow. And everybody's a rock star at something. I may not be a rock star at doing my books. I may not be a rock star at some things, but everybody has gifts. And if you come with an open mind and you're willing to share what you have to offer, you'll be very well received.
I couldn't agree more. Stuart, I have your information scrolling across the screen. Please let everyone know, are there other ways where you can be found?
So of course I'm on LinkedIn, right? I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, but really either feel free to reach out to me, go to the website, however you think I could be of service, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to chat with you.
And tell us some of the places that they can go to find you. NT events, Tuesdays, once a month, the Wednesday night club. Tell us a little
Wednesday
bit
night
about
club.
that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. So we do, like I said, we do it once a night. It's now done virtually. In January, we're going to start that back up again. You got my information, Robert, scrolling at the bottom of your screen. I think it's scrolled for the past hour. So please take a screenshot, jot it down. If you can't spell Gethner, I reinvented the website called Contact Stewart, and it doesn't matter how you spell Stewart. So
Uh,
www.contactstewart.com. You'll find me. And
Look,
go ahead.
look at that. Ask and you shall receive. It's not scrolling anymore.
No, but there it is. So
There it is.
call Robert if you can't get a hold of me, but certainly I try to find myself to be very accessible.
Well, Stuart, I really want I can't explain to you how excited that I am that you're on the show today.
Thank you.
Each and every time, I just feel like our rapport just keeps growing, just like you and I have. Again, the Academy is a wonderful place. If you're kicking the can down the road and you want to learn, something, go to the Academy. It's every Tuesday from 11 to noon. Even if you're seasoned, you can meet other people in the real estate investing community, and you never know, you might meet your next partner. Stuart, any final words before you go?
First of all, thanks for having me. I always enjoy being part of everything you have to offer. And folks, if you haven't done the Art of Connection book, it's a great way to get started. It's a great way to become not just a published author, but your book is going to be in the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
I'm a part of it. I've done it last year. I'm committed to doing it again this year. It's just a great way to get your name out there and be amongst other like-minded people. So thanks for having me, Robert. I always appreciate you.
Well, Stuart, thank you again for just giving you so many gems of content. I want to show you this. See, hey, I write notes, and you gave me a lot to write on. So I don't know if I can absorb all this, but I will do my best to. Again, Stuart, thank you so much for being on this show, and I look forward to next Tuesday at the Real Estate Academy class.
Yeah. Hey, everyone, please join us. It's free.
All right. Hey, have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you then.
See you soon, Robert. Thanks again.
Well, that was Stuart Gethner. He is the CEO and the owner of Gethner Education, Coaching, and Consulting, and he was on our show today. Please remember to, like us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we are here every Thursday from 2:30 to 3:30 Arizona time. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend, and
You've been
see, I had to do that. Have a great weekend. And, if you need anything, please utilize me. I like to tease everyone. I'm the most underutilized person in all of the iNetrepreneur Network. I am accessible. I'm at 480-299-0088. Again, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
You've been watching the iNetrepreneur Show, a production of the iNetrepreneur Radio Network, with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.